start there. Hi, Danville, Alan Shields, Chief of Police here for the town. We're tenant in service, which means we're here to make people's lives better, and we do that by safeguarding the lives, rights, and property of everyone we serve. Go to our links down below. We've got links to the Wildfire Preparedness and Evacuation Guide, the FEMA All Hazards Checklist. Those are two great checklists that will help you and your family be prepared. Also, sign up for alerts on the community warning system through the Contra Costa County Office of the Sheriff. That is how you'll get alerted and stay up to date should there be disasters. And then go to the PG&E website. There was some PSPS information that was handed out, and if you wanted the most up-to-date, you would go to the PG&E website, and they would have information for you there. And if you went to that site, you'd know that Danville really isn't affected by the current PSPS warning that they had given out. There were really no technically there was one Danville address that wasn't really in Danville. It was actually on Mount Diablo, but there was no Danville addresses affected by that. So if you go to that PG&E website, there's a lot of good information on how you can be prepared and then get alerts and updates for information as it comes out. All right, this is a live show. I know we're starting late. I appreciate everyone for joining us live, and if you're watching later, thank you. And if you have a question, just go ahead and throw it in the chat. Or if you have a comment, that's how this works. You do it. I'll answer it live during the show. If I can't get to it, I'll answer it later in the chat. All right, communitycrimeout.com. This is where you can get all your information on crime. You can also get sexual offender registry information there, and you can set up alerts. So you can zoom into your neighborhood and select to get alerts as they come in, or you can get daily digest alerts. Traffic collisions, not too bad. We had 2 late reported hit and runs. These were of parked cars. And then we had 1 injury collision. It was solo. So the parked cars that are the parked cars that were hit, we had 2 of them, and they're non-injury collisions. Those are the ones in green. And one was on the 3400 block of Camino Tasajara. So that's out towards, it's actually in between Blackhawk and Sycamore. And then the other was on the 500 block of San Ramon Valley Boulevard. And those were both unoccupied cars that were hit when they were parked. The other one on 10-8, that was a solo motorcycle collision on Sycamore Valley Road near Brookside. We ended up having to shut most of that road down for a little bit while we cared for, and I'm saying we, I really mean San Ramon Valley Fire, cared for the motorcyclist who went down. And ultimately what it looks like happened was there was a piece of firewood in the road, and it looks like the motorcycle hit the firewood and then crashed on his motorcycle. And it would have been very hard to see because there were, at that time of day, the sun was shining through the trees. And so what it did was it created light, shadow, kind of a pattern that makes it hard to see objects in the road. So the reason I point out specifically what happened in this case is you are responsible for the load that is in your truck, your car, whatever it may be. So if you've got a big pickup truck and you've got debris or, maybe you're doing fall cleaning and you put a bunch of stuff in there, like your tree limbs and all that, you have to secure it. You have to tie it down. And our recommendation is that you put a cover, a tarp over it, and then you tie it down real good so that nothing comes out. It can be very, very hazardous, whether it's in the roadway for a vehicle or a motorcycle, or it could be in the bike lane for a cyclist. I can tell you personally, I've hit sticks, big ones actually, and I've gone down on my bicycle and I had the same problem. Didn't see it. It was sitting in a shadow. So please make sure you tie those down. Know that our officers do look for unsafe loads, and we do make stops, and they have the discretion to cite if they see an unsafe load. So please be careful. Make sure you pass that message around. Crime, kind of not so bad. I mean, I'm saying that knowing that, 1 burglary is too many. This was a burglary of a store. But let's look at it. So on the 10th, we had a petty theft of alcohol at the Chevron on Crow Canyon Road. Ultimately, the juvenile was cited to his parents. And then on the 10th, we also had a theft, and this was interesting. So a lot of people don't think this is a theft, but it is. And this was of donations left on the curb, and that was on Ambleside Drive. So, if you're donating to different charity organizations and you put the stuff in a box and you put a label on it that says donations for, and you put it out on your curb, that doesn't mean that someone can just come and take it. It's not rubbish or trash. It's actual property. You're just leaving it out there for someone else to pick up. So there is people will say, well, the owner left it out there, so they're not really a victim because they didn't want the property anyway. Well, it had value to the receiving agency, to the place that was receiving the donation. Therefore, it is a theft. And, people are not allowed to do that. And it is something that does happen. What we encourage people to do to prevent it is to try to put their collectibles or their donations rather out there for only a short period of time. Don't leave it out there for a couple of days. Maybe put it out there the morning of that they're going to pick it up. We do look for those. If you get suspicious vehicle or a report, we do go out there and do that. And I know that this show, one sec. I know that this show, we do give a lot of information on the crime triangle, and we try to stress what you can do to prevent being a victim of a theft, because the format of this show is such that we're trying to provide information to all of you. But what I never want to be lost is that in all the times that we're giving suggestions to all of you, we want to make sure that you still know that we're out there doing our job. Last week is a good example. I think we highlighted 4 different thefts for organized retail theft, or 4 arrests for organized retail theft. And so it's important that you know that we do that. So when I'm out here giving tips and saying, hey, don't put your stuff out there too early, do this and that, it's just to try to attempt to minimize the amount of victimization that happens in the community. Frankly, it's something you all do very, very well. You do it extremely well. I can say that when I walk through the parking lots in town, very, very few times will I see something like a wallet sitting in a dash or on a seat, or a purse on a seat. You're very, very good about keeping the loot, the target of the theft, away. So kudos to all of you. All right, let's go over the arrest log. This should be pretty short, not too many. That's a good thing, right? So on the 10th, we talked about it. That was the juvenile. And what he ended up doing was he actually took the alcohol, went in the bathroom, drank it, and then tried to leave. And he was stopped, and ultimately we went out there and cited him. And that happened at the Chevron on Crocadian Road. Now, on the 13th, we had a report of someone who was weaving on the road on Highway 680, southbound 680 and Diablo Road. Our officers stopped the person and ended up, through their investigation, arrested the person for DUI. And then subsequent to the arrest, the person assaulted the officer and resisted and obstructed the officer in doing their duties. Those charges were added, and the person was jailed at Martinez for that. The reason I wanted to point that out is that was a stop that was actually on the freeway. When you see a person that is driving poorly, we don't have an expectation that you're going to be able to say, oh, that person's tired, or that person may be drunk, or that person may be a new driver. We just ask that you call it in. And sometimes it is the case that the person is just tired. Other times it's not the case and they're drunk. If it's such that, it's on the freeway, technically that's CHP's jurisdiction, but a peace officer in California is a peace officer throughout the entire state. So I listed the location. I thought it was specific and important, because I want you to know that your police departments, your CHP, your East Bay Regional Parks, we all work together. This isn't one of those where we're pushing work off onto other people saying that's not my job, not my area. Our concern isn't for geographic boundaries. Our concern is for all of you. And if there's someone that's driving on the freeway poorly and we have an opportunity to jump up on the freeway and stop them because maybe CHP is tied up somewhere else, we're going to do that. And so if our concern is for all of you and the safety of the people that we serve, the boundaries tend to fade a little bit, and you should trust and know that your police departments, your CHPs, your sheriffs, East Bay Regional Parks, we're all working together on this. So that's why I wanted to make sure I pointed that out. All right. So we had a case with a juvenile stealing something. We've had other cases. We had a case of a juvenile that fled from one of our officers on one of those dirt bikes and ended up getting his dirt bike towed. So what do we do? What do we do with kids? Do we just do we lock them up? No. There is a method to handling kids that favors rehabilitation over incarceration, right? Rehabilitation over punishment. The idea being that when you're a kid, you may not, we know right from wrong at a certain age, but you may not know how wrong something is, right? So the idea is if we can bring the kids down, engage their parents, we can really have some success. So let me kind of go over this real quick. I'll throw a slide up real quick, but juvenile diversion, and this is to divert kids from the formal court system. The objectives are to rehabilitate over punish, make sure that community service is accomplished as a way to work off the issue, the crime, and then to get them to form some type of restitution if there was vandalism, damage, theft. It's also meant to heavily favor education and potentially counseling. And then we have to have the parents involved, because this has to be the start of a conversation that lasts over time and engages the parents. And what is the criteria? Can anyone get in? Well, we loosely follow this. So first-time offenders, nonviolent, and potential for rehabilitation. Have we let people in that have committed a second crime? Yeah, we have. And so what we try to do is we try to take and make this program favor the juvenile. We really want to work to keep our kids out of the juvenile justice system, but make sure they account for what they've done. What we don't want is we don't want a system that simply bypasses the criminal justice system and is a revolving door so that these crimes continue to occur. The whole idea is we want our kids to not reoffend. Now, you can look at almost any year. If you look at our annual report, there should be a link in the description. I usually post about 5 years worth of stats. I think COVID was the only year we had none. We had nobody that we diverted. But typically we'll divert anywhere from 5 to 15 kids throughout the year for committing various crimes. And our success rate is anywhere from like 80 to 100. We had 1 year at 100%. We never have that. But it's usually 80 to 90%. So most times we're not seeing reoffenses. So that means that the program, I believe, is working. And I know anecdotally from participating in the program on the law enforcement side that it's the parent engagement. It really is. And so sometimes as a matter of helping the child, one of the things we'll recommend through this program, because this is a cooperative, this is an agreement between the police department, the parents, and the child. One of the things that we will ask be done is that the parents actually go to counseling as well, with the idea not that the parents are, not wise people, not caring people, not that, but the idea is to put another tool in that parent's tool bag so that they can help their child better, right? I know there are parenting classes out there, but you don't have to go to any. And so this is a way where we can say, hey, we realize you may need some assistance. Maybe the child that is a little challenging. And so this might be an entry point into getting not just the child help, but the family help so they can learn to deal with some of the behavior issues in the child. It's all about simply correcting behavior. All right, I'm looking in the chat and I don't see any questions. So I apparently must have covered all that material pretty well. I do appreciate everyone joining. We do have some things we want to cover again. If you haven't downloaded it, download the Wildfire Preparedness and Evacuation Guide, the FEMA All Hazards Checklist, and make sure you go to the PG&E website. And if you haven't, you should really sign up to get those community warning system alerts through the Sheriff's Office. You can really tailor them for your needs, and so that's good. I'm going to actually head upstairs to our Citizens Academy. This is going to be our second week doing the Citizens Academy. And actually, I think this Saturday, we might actually be going out to drive the cars. A lot of fun, but it's fun with a purpose. What we try to do in the Citizens Academy program is we open our doors so that everyone can see what it is that we do, the tools that we use, some of the techniques and tactics that we use. But the biggest part is for all of the officers here to build a relationship with all of you so you understand who it is that is serving you in the community to keep you safe. All right, Danville. That's it. I am 10-10, but I'm always 10-8 and in service to all of you. Have a good night.